Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So for this week's drawing, I'm going to be drawing a picture of an aurora. Starting off, I used my pencil to create a rough sketch of what I wanted the finished product to look like. I made sure that I really outlined the areas that I wanted to be lighter than the rest of the picture. That way I could see what I was doing, especially when I'm working with the darker colors. Especially while working with the basic sketch, I made sure to use reference photos, especially with the trees. That allowed me to see how snow falls on evergreen trees so I can make it look more realistic. Once I was satisfied with my sketch, I moved on to actually coloring the picture. Whenever you are working with super dark colors and super light colors, an important tip is to work from lightest to darkest. That will prevent too much bleeding with your markers. While working on the aurora, I used the colors B12 for the blue section and blended it out with a colorless blender. And then I used G12 and Y02 for the yellow section. Adding those two colors helped to add depth to that section of the aurora. And then I used R20 and RV63, really focusing on R20 for the pink section of the aurora. I also added a streak of RV63, B12, and G12 into the lake below. That will become the reflection of the aurora in the lake. Now, using my guidelines that I used while I was sketching, I'm going to put blue into the trees to be the snow. Remember, this may look very dark right now, but once you darken the sky, this will look very, very white and very snow-like. Now that I have started to add the light colors to where I wanted the light colors to be, I'm going to start adding a few more of the dark colors in. So I added a layer of BG05 into the sky, and that's kind of the mid-tone color. And then I added Prussian blue, which is B39, and I added that into the areas that are right up against the brightest part of the aurora at the bottom. That will help to make it look even brighter. I then blended those two colors together very well, and then I went back through with a colorless blender and feathered the edges back into the aurora to make it look bright. And then I added the colors that I originally used on each strand of the aurora. That way everything would blend smoothly and it will still look like a very bright sky. Up at the very top, I did the same thing. I blended BG05 and B39 together to create a nice smooth gradient, and then I added black into the upper right hand corner. That helps to add that very dark section of sky and make the rest of the sky look even brighter. For the reflection of the aurora on the surface of the lake, I used a similar technique that I used for the sky. I used BG05 and blended it with B39. Only this time I made sure that the section of BG05 was not nearly as large and wide as it was in the sky. I also blended black into it right up against where the next color started. This really helped to provide a nice brightness to the picture without making it look too much like the aurora itself. I added final detailing on the mountain using E59, B12, B39, C1, and C3. The foliage on the tree is G28, shaded with B39, and the snow is shaded with V28 and C7. I used stippling in order to provide the appearance of texture, especially on the foliage itself of the trees. So with most of the marker work done on this picture, I was completely disheartened. It was nothing like I had imagined, and I still had so much that needed to be fixed, and I had no idea where to start. My mom even said that the reflection of the aurora in the lake looked like waves, and she thought it was an ocean. So instead of being disheartened and with my mom's encouragement, I continued work. So now, moving on to the colored pencils, I added detail and refined everything so that it would come together. Starting with the Aurora, I worked on tightening up all the colors in the drawing. With the Aurora, I used similar colors that I had used in the Copic markers for the underdrawing for the Aurora colors itself. So I used pinks and greens and yellows and blues. For the reflection of the Aurora, I gradually layered in darker blues and blacks, very, very close to the original color strands that I had put as the reflection for the Aurora. This really helped to create a darker effect and make it look a lot more like reflections. I then used color pencils and the color of the reflected lights right over where the initial strand was, and making sure to blend out into the blues. This really helped to make that area seem to glow with the light of the Aurora. I still wasn't entirely satisfied with this, so I went back in and layered in darker colors until it achieved the effect that I was looking for, with a nice subtle glow effect. Once I had finished the reflection, I moved back into the sky. I decided that the sky was too bright, especially along the horizon, so I needed to darken that so that it would kind of help provide balance to the picture. I did this by applying indigo blue and black. The key is to apply these colors in very light layers. This will help to gradually darken the picture without becoming so dramatic that you end up ruining it. As long as you're working in thin layers, you do not have to be worried about experimenting, and have fun with this. For the final details of this illustration, I went through and added shadows to the trees, and then went into the sky and used white gouache and added a small spray of stars. This helped to kind of give it a more ethereal look. I want to thank you guys so much for watching my video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and share with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe!